The Economic Development Authority. The Economic Advisory Committee is called to order. Roll call has been taken. Prior to considering our items on the agenda, I'll go over some rules of procedure. This meeting is held in a hybrid format in accordance with the electronic participation policy for virtual meetings. The full corporate policy 050 regarding electronic virtual meetings is available online to review. All cameras for our committee members shall remain on to ensure quorum. Members of the committee shall indicate they wish to speak by raising their hand. Members who are present in person will be given an opportunity to speak first, followed by virtual participants. Please leave your hand raised until the chair has determined the result of the vote. All rules for deliberations under the city's procedural bylaw operations. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest for any of the items listed on the agenda today? Items listed. Vote.
Jeanette?
Jeanette, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry, it's very hard to hear. I'm not sure if anyone else is having the same problem, but the audio is terrible on my end.
Is there an echo?
Can you still hear us?
Can you hear us?
That's a bit better, yeah. For me anyway. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, that's a little bit better for me as well.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I do it again? So, are there any declarations of conflict of interest for any of the items listed on the agenda? Move on to item number 3. We have one presentation on our agenda today. I would ask Kevin McPhillips and Nancy Johnston from McSweeney and Associates to come forward to present their presentation. Please note you have 10 minutes to present, inclusive of questions.
Kevin's on, he's virtual, so I'm going to present on my own. He'll be here to answer questions. Okay.
You can.
All right. Thanks for inviting me to give you an overview of the economic development goals and actions that we've been working on with economic development. I'm just going to go through, as I said, 5 minutes. So we'll go through this relatively quickly. Okay. So just a little bit of an overview of what we've done so far, the process that we've taken in order to get to the point where we have the actions and the goals and actions. So we did quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. So the quantitative was all around our research. We did a situational analysis, did document review, and then the qualitative analysis, we did focus groups, we did working session, which quite a number of people were involved in. And we took all that information and developed a score, which is strengths, challenges, opportunities, aspirations, and results. It's a SWOT analysis really, but it's a McSweeney SWOT analysis, and developed that. Through that score analysis, we came up with the themes and with a number of themes. And then through those themes, we came up with 7 goals and actions within each of the goals. And what we did is that we really worked closely with economic development, the economic development team, to really make sure that the actions are realistic and doable. So go to the next one. So overall, there are 7 goals, and all this, I'm going to go do fairly high level. But there are 7 goals, 64 actions on those 7 goals, total, 64 actions. And I'm not going to go through every action, obviously, but it is there is a report within the document. So you can ask questions after about that. So the first goal is around transforming downtowns into the downtown into a destination that residents are proud of. And there are 6 priority actions under that, but downtowns really play a vital role in economic development. Vibrant downtowns validate sort of community success. And people look at your downtown and say, okay, well, this is a great downtown. It really is a reflection of your community. So there are a number of improvements that need to be undertaken for the downtown in order to improve it. It's more around safety, security, growth, and vibrancy, and supporting that. The next one is about investment ready and business friendly by creating a business first climate. So there's always things that need to be done within that realm. As you know, businesses are really the lifeblood of the city, and they provide employment and they provide a strong tax base. And so local government really needs to take that business first attitude and really be seen as a partner with businesses and provide that approach, business first approach. So what's needed is really that staff is understanding the business community. There's a streamlined process in place, and having that sort of timely and seamless customer service, which really helps the developers and the investors move through the system. The third one is about integrating business development, real estate, and tourism with critical city initiatives, including transit and active transportation. 2 priority actions here. Really there is a need for enhanced route signage and linkages between the businesses and different areas in the community through transit, through public transit, and through trails and that sort of thing as well. So this is an opportunity where staff in economic development, tourism, and culture can really form that link between the department and the business community, sort of for those initiatives that might impact workforce development and economic growth. The 4th one is around creative industries, and we know you have a real burgeoning creative industry sector in Brantford. Creative sector really supports that quality of life, which is really important for attracting businesses into the community. So there needs to be a real focus placed on elevating that arts and culture in Brantford. 7 priority actions around that. And then the next one is around working with local post-secondary institutions to provide more employment opportunities, support local business. So I've got to say that you have a real advantage having the 3 different post-secondary institutions within Brantford, and really being able to work with the post-secondary institutions and trying to keep those educated graduates that come into Brantford to go to school, but trying to keep them here and setting them up and helping to sort of be the conduit between the businesses and the graduates with the post-secondary education institutions is really important. And goal 6 is about improving partnerships to build a more cohesive business community. 4 priority actions there, and really looking at as Brantford not being in a silo. Brantford, as most communities are, part of a bigger area, and working regionally is really important because what happens in one part of the region affects Brantford, and what happens in Brantford affects the region. So you really need to play that have that close working relationship with the different municipalities in the area, but also the different organizations that are in the area. There's a lot of important organizations that are working together, but to continue to build those partnerships is important. And then the last one is around tourism. And there is a tourism strategy that's been developed, but this is where economic development, Brantford Economic Development can really build tourism for the people of Brantford first. And we felt that that was really important because if you get the people that are in the community on site and they understand what's going on and they participate, they're going to be your greatest assets, your greatest promoters of tourism and getting people into the area, bringing their family and friends or whatever coming in the area, and they're going to be the ones that will promote. The other, and there is another component around tourism as well, is the Sanderson Center. We looked at that as well, and we know that it's a key destination for tourists and for locals, and really there was this real need to sort of elevate the center so that it becomes even more important within the tourism sector. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I can answer them or Kevin can answer them.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions? Victor?
I always hate going first, but I do have a question. It was, just trying to remember the point number. You talked about the creative industries, goal number 4. I'm curious if you guys looked at like cultural industries as well. Something that I'm actually looking into myself, but I see a lot of overlap within those two terms. And considering that we're also a cultural initiatives advisory committee, I think that's something really important. So I'm just wondering if that was looked at. Maybe it's talked about some of that priority action points, but I just haven't seen it on the presentation.
No, we didn't do that. I did put that in the presentation, but so it was limited time. But anyway, but we did talk about updating the need to update the municipal cultural plan. So we didn't really talk about, because if there's a plan, then that'll be all around culture. And so really it's, if you have that plan, you don't want to really include it in this as well, because it may be overlapped. So that's how we left it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think that's, as far as I'm aware, that's due to be renewed soon, right? I think they're working on it now. Do you know, Christina, or no? No one from staff is here that I can see that.
Sarah's.
Oh, Sarah's here. There's Sarah. Sorry. Sarah, do you know when that's supposed to get renewed?
Yes, so I can also update as well that creative industries is a definition that's used by the Stats Canada. So it's actually like, it's a definition, a proper noun for a group of individuals in the workforce, which would include museum sector employees, government employees, people who work at libraries, things like that. So that includes the cultural sector. And the municipal cultural plan, we do not have it due to update yet. We were hoping that the tourism and culture strategy we were working on would help to encompass that. It really didn't work out that way. We saw that there's definitely a significant need for a grassroots approach to updating the municipal cultural plan. So that is what we'll be recommending here, and we'll look at implementing that within the next 18 months of starting that project once this is approved.
Great. Can you expand just a little bit on what you mean by the grassroots approach? Like, what do you have in mind?
We are not hiring a consultant.
Okay.
So we will be working with arts professionals from the community, people who are representatives in the cultural sector, from volunteers to employers to employees of the sector, and we'll be working together similar to the last iteration that we did. So we would likely be coming to this advisory committee looking to create a working group to provide that leadership, but it would be very, very collaborative. We would spend at least probably a full year just doing the consultation phase of it so that we really can dive into what the community asks for. It should be a community-led project.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll now consider item 4.1. Can I please have a mover and seconder to place the item on the floor? I said the Mets hand first, and Kevin, and somebody else also listed.
Thank you, Nancy.
And
Kevin was the.
Kevin was the presentation, right? Then it was David.
I think he was just saying,
Waving
waving goodbye.
Oh, no,
He's gone now, yeah.
He's gone now. Was it
So do you need a seconder? Sorry? You got David,
David?
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, David David was the seconder. I saw 3 hands. Okay, perfect. Any discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion
Counselor
carried.
Hunt, sorry, Counselor Hunt, did you have a question? Your hand went up before the all in favor part.
I did. So the motion is basically that we are receiving the report and that feedback on the report be provided to McSweeney and Associates. I'm wondering what format that feedback, like who are we asking for feedback on it? Is it council? Is it the business community? Is it, I mean, David's on here from the Chamber of Commerce. Is it just members of the committee? How are we formalizing that feedback to go back?
Through the chair to Counselor Hunt, I can respond to that. So the feedback is being asked of from the advisory committee, which would then be ratified by council. We need that feedback in this session in order for it to be feedback from the advisory committee. We've completed the consultation phase with the general public, and what we've done in advance of this meeting is talk to some of the key groups that were particularly named in the strategy to ensure that they were okay with some of the actions. So after this point, we would take the recommendations as they are, if they are not amended, and start building out the implementation plan, which includes resources and timelines, and then the economic development strategy with the 2 appendices related to the airport and the farmers market would be brought forward to council in the new year.
Okay, so would you say you need our feedback in this cycle?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's the November cycle? Or
Through
in
the chair,
this?
in this meeting is
In this
the
meeting?
request. Yes.
Okay.
If there's additional feedback that comes from council when this committee report goes through the council cycle, which will likely be in November, clerks can confirm that. We're happy to take any additional feedback on the floor at that time, but at this time we're looking for feedback from the advisory committee members.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for the question, and Sarah, thank you for the answer. Any other discussion? Oh, okay. It's hard to go back and forth. Jan, go ahead. You're muted.
Okay. Yes, my question is, when do we need the feedback? By what date?
Yeah, so Sarah just kind of jumped out. I can speak to that. So as per Sarah's previous response to the chair to Yang, sorry, the feedback would have to be brought to us today from the advisory committee and then presented to council likely in November. So we're looking for the feedback from this committee today, right now.
Jan, go ahead.
Can we not email it to the consulting firm? Like there's a lot more details that we don't want to take too much time of committee.
Yeah, through the chair, I don't want to approve that without Sarah's permission on this, of course, but I would suggest that, yeah, if you could send that any feedback you have to Sarah, and that would be good.
Okay.
Sarah's back on here. The question came up, Sarah, about when they can give the feedback.
Yes, so the intent was that members were were able to provide feedback in this meeting so that the membership had time to provide feedback, debate together, and come to consensus on what the recommendations are. However, if more time is needed, you also have the option to defer this meeting or this item to the next cycle of this committee so that you have another month to review it and come prepared to have a discussion and provide feedback all together at your November meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. Danette?
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Section 5.2 and 8.0 of the report. Can I just ask for some clarity on the timelines there? Maybe I've read this wrong because I did read the report quite quickly. I went through the other pieces in a bit more detail last week, but the report I read quickly. It's talking about the last sentence, for example, in section 5.2. The overall economic development strategy is scheduled to be presented to City Council by the end of Q1 2023.
That's a typo. It's 2024.
Okay, thank you. And then the same then for section 8 of the report as well then, Sarah, is that correct? It's
Yes.
talking about Q2 2023. So the typo is in the year, not in the quarters.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Victor?
How do we feel about deferring until next meeting?
Danette?
I'm sorry, that wasn't a response. My hand is not a response for that question. It was just another comment I was going to make after this discussion is over. Sorry.
Peter?
I feel that it would be a better thing to defer it. It's pretty important and we should really take a good look at it. Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, great.
Danette?
Yes, for me as well.
Do you have another point tonight?
Was that my name again?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, the audio is still a bit odd on my end. I just wanted to mention that I did go in, I did go over this in detail last week, and the Workforce Planning Board is mentioned sort of directly and indirectly in a couple of the goals, and we're happy to support and participate wherever we can. So I just wanted to provide that as comments for the meeting tonight.
David?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's great. I wondered if to defer, but then to also specifically to add in some comments around or some like we specifically mentioned tourism and the downtown and cultural industries, but the like the larger, so like some of our larger employers, or at least the sectors of our larger employers, aren't necessarily called out in explicit details, such as like advanced manufacturing, some of the skilled trades areas, as well as food supply and supply chain stuff that way. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to enhance one or two of the pillars, specifically I think number 2 and number 3 perhaps, or number 2 and number 6, just to include some of those larger and sort of the larger employment numbers in the community.
Thank you for that comment. Councillor Hunt?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo a little bit of what David has said. I myself have been a longtime business owner in this community, and I think goal number 6 needs to be a little bit, I think I'd like to see it a little bit more robust, we'll put it that way. I've always felt that we do an okay job of new companies coming in, but a lot of times we overlook a lot of the companies, employers that have been here for a very long time. So I'm pleased to see some of the initiatives in there in terms of a visitation program, and working with the chamber, eliminating the industrial awards program, because I feel like we haven't done and I'll tell you, I tell people this all the time. I've been in business in this town for 35 years, and once a year we get an email from the city to update our industrial directory. So from the standpoint, not talking as a counselor, talking as a longtime business owner, I think that goal could have a lot more meat to it in terms of what it is that we're doing to build a more cohesive business community, and that includes engaging our business community a lot more. Also, speaking as a Ward 4 councillor, we have a huge commercial and industrial segment of Ward 4 that certainly needs to be considered in this realm as well. So I, for one, would appreciate the deferral, because I did go through it. I was not reading the agenda, understanding that we were expected to provide feedback. This was our drop dead date for providing feedback on it. So if that could be deferred to allow for some real engagement with the committee members, that would be, I think, beneficial to the outcome before it goes to council.
Thank you, Danette and David.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Just with respect to the breakout engagement sessions that will be taking place in the last quarter of this year that Sarah had mentioned, I'm wondering, I'm not sure that there was any mention of the Workforce Planning Board in goal number 6. But I would be interested in participating, or our office would be interested in participating in conversations about that if there's an opportunity to do so. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well, please.
David?
I'm actually gonna sort of back off my last point to maybe consider a different direction. Like, why not just go ahead? Like, what are we gonna find any, really gonna have any, miraculous revelations over the next 4 weeks or 3 weeks? I think, there's been a lot of great work done on developing this. We had the great session at the end of June. And we've heard from a lot of, from the, most of the business community. I think my large industry piece, I think, could be tied in there. But so aside from a few, from wordsmithing a few things that that staff could probably capture the gist of the conversation tonight. Let's get on with it and get building Brantford. Because council's got they'll have their own opinions on it, but anyways, I would support moving forward tonight.
Danette?
Thank you, through Madam Chair. Sorry, I was on mute. I agree with Dave. I'm happy to move this forward if anyone else is interested. I know we have the engagement sessions coming up at the end of the calendar year here, so I'd be interested in engaging in those a little bit more to provide not necessarily feedback, but just an understanding of next steps and how our office can participate and support moving some of this forward.
So we're having a very lively discussion here. Any other comments from anyone? Okay, so we have people saying we should go ahead and adopt it or defer it until next month. guess we could go ahead and vote again. All those in favor of, how should I do this?
If you wanted to, if someone wants to defer it.
Right.
They should put a motion to defer. with a second.
Right now, on the regular one. On the regular one.
Yeah, so it'd just be as simple as, I move we defer this to our next meeting.
Okay.
And I'd also encourage you that to make that really meaningful. I know some people, when they review a report like this, they might want to come and verbalize their issues in meetings. Others are more like tactile on the keyboard, and they might want to type some comments.
Right.
I think I'd certainly encourage that we're going to defer it, but if some members want to go through it, type their comments, share it in advance of the meeting, that might help generate a more fulsome discussion. So motion would be a motion to defer to the November meeting. Someone wants. I'm very mindful when I'm there coming to an advisory committee meeting. I don't want to, I like to try to remain quiet and listen. So someone else should probably make that motion.
I do have one more question for discussion. What will deferring do? I think I appreciate what David and Danette said about just getting on with things. I'm one of those people that likes to just move forward with quickly, and there's always some reason to defer something or think about something or work through something. But if deferring will give us, it seems like the room's 50-50, right? So
Right.
having extra time without much of a impact, I think that would be my vote, sort of thing. But if deferring means, gosh, we're pushing this, something else by month, and then that's going to push into the next year, and if it's going to create like a huge upset in time, then it would sway me to the other side, because that really is, I think, also a big deal. Is there anybody that can answer that question?
Maybe Sarah? Go ahead, Sarah.
Through the chair to Victor, deferring for another cycle will delay the project by about 2 months, because we would then end up doing our kind of focus group consultation on implementation plan over the holidays. So we would have to start that after council approval, which would happen in December. And then we would probably look at implementation planning January and February once people are back from holidays, with then the final report presented probably in mid Q2 instead of late Q1.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Mayor Davis.
I got a question for Sarah, through you, Madam Chair. So Sarah, some people may have come to this meeting not understanding that they were expected to provide feedback, because to figure that out, you actually had to read the report, the first section, see that was one of the action items. And, unless you're used to these reports and know where to go to figure out what you're expected to do at a meeting, you can easily miss that. So if we decided to proceed today to preserve the original timeline for the report moving forward, is there still scope for someone to provide, as Jane mentioned, written comment, say over the next week or two? I realize it wouldn't be coming officially from the committee, but is that still an option?
Yeah, and this might be actually maybe a collaborative answer with clerks. So what we could do, if there is significant changes that change the intent of any of the currently publicly accessible goals and actions, then we would probably be in a situation where we would need to come back to provide that, or we could provide a staff report directly to council instead of a committee report with a staff report appended. So there's ways around it, but it means that we're providing an ECDEV strategy. If we do it the staff, like the ECDEV staff driven way, it would mean we're providing a strategy that's incomplete. So we would prefer to wait, as the goals and actions are one component of the strategy, not the whole thing. So there could be, if the feedback is not about changing any of the goals and actions, and it's more about how do we actually address these goals and actions when it comes to implementation planning, that's absolutely something we can have a conversation with, because that implementation plan will be a staff-led internal document that's meant to regularly change. So it won't be a council-approved document. So it really depends on what the feedback is on how we would be able to approach this, if that makes sense.
Jang, is that a hand?
Uh,
Go ahead.
Through the chair, I've been here for 50 years and I ran a business. I brought in a lot of businesses to Brantford through my construction company. And I feel that the report is good, but we need to put our suggestions. The committee didn't really have any suggestion to change or add to the report. Person like me, I have a lot to add, and I can't just do it in this meeting. Either I do it in writing or we adjourn this to the next month so all can participate, all can give their ideas. Brantford got a lot of potential, but we are not exploring properly. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jang. Mayor Davis and Victor.
I would suggest, I think there's enough people in the committee that have expressed a wish to defer. So I think a motion to defer, someone should put it on the floor properly. And I'll just tell you that the way it works, a motion to defer is like, it's not debatable. It's only debated as to the time, i.e. motion to defer could be December and you could debate about whether it should go to January. So I think we've had a pretty good discussion about the advantages or disadvantages of deferring. So I'd say, why not make a decision on it? I respectfully suggest someone should put a motion to defer to the next meeting, December, November. Second it and let's have a vote on it.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Victor?
I will do that. Let's motion. I'm really on the wall, but I don't know. I think it would be a shame to leave out comments that are vital. This is a vital document and a vital strategy. This isn't something we could just push forward, and the easier route is to not defer, I suppose, and just keep moving, but I think that it's too vital to do that. So I'm going to put a motion in to defer until the next meeting to give the committee time to review and come back with comments.
Seconder?
I would second it.
Here, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3. Those opposed? 2. Okay, motion carries. We'll defer until the next meeting in November.
Chrissy, I would just emphasize what I said, like in particular, Jang, if you want to make a written comment, I certainly encourage you to do that before the next meeting. That'll help engender a pretty good discussion. And so I'm not saying people have to do it, but I suspect, Jang, knowing you, that that's probably a better way for you. And I'd certainly encourage, I think the committee would benefit from it in preparing for next month's meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 5, the minutes. Can I please have a mover and seconder to place the minutes on the floor? David, was it a question from David? I thought it was. David, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm wondering if just like to hold us accountable, if we had a deadline to put our comments in writing so that they could be in front of, like, maybe it's 3 weeks from now, so that we could receive them as a committee in advance of the next meeting, and then that would, speed that group along. Like, so, we've got 2 weeks and to get our comments into to staff, and then that could be circulated to the committee in advance, and then the next meeting could be quicker.
I would also save overlap, I think,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's a good.
So I would move that the committee submit their comments in writing within 2 weeks of today's date to staff.
That's fair.
Seconder? Peter? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All those approval of the minutes. Looking
Okay.
for a seconder.
Stephanie has a hand up.
I'm so sorry. I just have one question before we move on. So some of us represent multiple organizations at this table. Are we able to share this document with those organizations for their feedback as well? Or is this a document that needs to stay within this committee?
Through the chair to Stephanie, it is a public document. You can absolutely share with your group. And if you're representing a certain group, we especially would love to hear collective feedback from the BMGA, for example.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now back to the minutes. So we place the item on the floor. Any discussion? Sorry, who was the mover in a second? The mover was Mayor, right?
David.
Seconder was
Or I think it was Peter.
Peter. Was the seconder. That's right.
I thought it was.
Okay,
We've got eyes on both sides of the table.
it's a dynamic meeting. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, my neck. Oh, wow. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. So, item number 6, there are no resolutions and there are no notices of motion. So the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mayor Davis, for coming out today.